record button now to get this session started. Great, so it looks like it's come up recording. So with this one, it's all around the admin side. So with the admin, what we're looking at is the administering of the courses as far as being able to have users being added in and enrolling them into courses. So how do you go about adding users, doing bulk uploads, being able to unenroll users, that type of like. So on the left-hand side, because I'm now logged in as the administrator, and again I can see my name up in the top right there, and I know that I am an administrator. So if I scroll down on the left-hand side here further, this is actually broken up into really three sections. There's this front page section, which is really what we're currently seeing on the right-hand side here. There's your own individual profile, and then there is the site administration. Now with users, you may enroll them into many courses, or it might be just one course, but you need to get them into the system to be able to make them then available to enroll to the course. So it is actually a site administration area. So if I come into site administration, many different areas in here, but we're going to come down to users. Now if I come across into the accounts, I can actually go and browse for a list of all the users that are currently enrolled. Now, I should say, rephrase that, I shouldn't say enrolled, all the current users within our system, because you could have a user being in the system, but they are currently suspended. So every time I hear that term, it sounds like I'm about to get kicked out of school. It's not that, it's that you could have them in the system, and I guess as an example, if someone is enrolled in a course and you want to allow them a grace period for other activities and to come back and do, I guess, the same course but at a later stage, you'd want to suspend them from the course that they're currently enrolled in and then re-enroll them into another course. So that's where suspend comes into place. Now in this case, we've got these 10 demo accounts coming into place, plus a couple of other administration ones in here. So I've got myself in there, plus also this Learnbook administrator, etc. Now, so they're all the ones that are currently in the system. Now, if I wanted to look at adding another user, and this would be, let's say that you got a course and you just need to add one additional user to come into place, then back on the left-hand side where I've come down through the site administration, users and accounts, there is add a new user. Now, once I come across here, there is actually a series of, and I'll just clear out some of my preset details. There are a series of required fields, but they're not all up the top. So there is a username, but further down, there is actually the first name, surname, and email address. They're the only compulsory ones that come into place. Now, different organisations will have different ideas around what the username might be. So I know for some it might be the username is first name, last name, or first initial, last name, or any of those type of combinations. Some might even be just their employee ID number as far as their username. So for this one, what I'm going to do is purposely make a bit of a mistake here. I want the person's username to be Fred. And because I've clicked somewhere, let me just do a refresh here. Some of these fields you do actually have to enter the information in straight away. You can't go to other areas first off. So let's just do a refresh. Right, so I'll put in Fred. Now the mistake that I'm making here is the uppercase F. Usernames must all be lowercase. Right, I'll come down a little bit further and I'll just put in the rest of the details. Right, okay, so I've just filled in the compulsory items in through there. Now, I just want to go through a few of the other bits and pieces in through here. So first off, your authentication method. So there's a whole heap of preset ones that can come into place here. So just as an example, does anyone use Outlook as their email-based system?
Yep.
Yeah. So if so, then you might actually have the LDAP server authentication, so it can actually connect back through to other systems. We're going to leave this on the manual accounts, which is definitely the more common one. It means that it's completely independent of the organisation's other systems. In through here too, you could actually create an account but have it suspended immediately so that you can then, once you enrol them, make them go live at that stage. You can also generate a password and notify a user. So if this is actually ticked, you can't actually enter in a password, but what will happen upon saving is it will send an email to the address that's been supplied, prompting for the person to put in a password in there. So the first time they log in, they'll get the prompt. The other option that you can do is come across and you can actually just give them a password. Now I'm just going to unmask so that I can see what I'm typing in. So I'm just going to type in password. Right, now, not a very strong password, but I also want to show one other thing here. That up above it says that the passwords must have at least 8 characters. It's fairly typical password ideas now, 1 digit, 1 upper and lowercase, and 1 non-alphanumeric character in there. So that is actually the default. Now the idea here is that maybe you might go across and set in one of those passwords in there, and if this is the case that you do want to set this up and you need to match it in with this, I'm just going to type in what is a fairly common way of setting up password. Let's get rid of that. That's another one of my little programs. So using the @ symbol, so therefore you got one of the non-alphanumeric characters come into place, and it's a 0 for the word, and I need to have 1 uppercase character, so I should actually have an uppercase P in there. So that's a fairly common one. Now, if you set that up, you can also have ticked in there to force the password change. So the user would actually get that password. Upon their first login to the system, it would then be prompting them to change their password at that stage, and until they've changed it, they won't be able to proceed any further forward. So I might just leave it with that password in there. I'll just get rid of that tick. I'm not going to send it, because if there is a Fred that works for a company called 123 in Australia, I have sent them thousands of emails over the years. All right, moving a little bit further down, there's the email to be displayed. So quite a few options, or 3 options in here. So it really depends upon what you want to do. If it is the case that when they're enrolled on a course, you want them to be made aware of all the other users that are enrolled in the course so that they could actually email each other or go into discussion forums and so on, then you would probably want this option in place to allow only other course members to see their email address. If it is on everyone, then anyone that's in the system would be able to see that come across. So I'm just going to leave it on the default, which is the other ones. Email formats, just literally, can you have different coloured text and pictures added in amongst it all, which we'll leave in there. I'm just going to bypass a couple, but just one in here, the auto subscribe. Because you have the ability to set up forums and discussions, etc., that when they have been signed in to a particular course, then it will automatically subscribe them to that so that they will keep on getting any information from that course being sent through. Right. You can also track their use. So if you wanted to make sure that they are participating in forums and discussions, you can certainly turn that on. As mentioned earlier on too, you've also got the time zone. So if the server's based in Melbourne and Sun's in Perth, you'd want to set up the time zone so that it all just coincides with what they actually need, and you can also come across and other additional information about the person. Further down, you've got the ability to add pictures in there of the person, additional names. Again, I mentioned that earlier on, that if they've got a hard name to pronounce, there may be a better way of trying to set it out. Interests, and also options, other contact details in there. So I'm now just going to go and create that user. Right. Okay, and here's this error coming into place. So I've put in the uppercase F. Anytime that you put in something that's just not available, always go across and highlight in red in there. So I did have the password be in the correct format, so it hasn't given me a message. Put it in as a lowercase f, come back down the bottom again, and I'll create the user. Right, so as soon as the user is created, it'll come back across to show you all the users that are in the system, and here's Fred now being added in. Sorry, I just muted myself for a sec. I could feel a tickle in the throat, and I hate coughing into these microphones. It always seems to go very loud for the person at the other end. Right, so that's the way that you can look at adding just a individual user in there. Now, we'll come back to the bulk upload idea shortly, but I just want to show you, once you have users in the systems, how do you go and enroll them into the particular courses. Right, so first off, there are, like most programs, multiple ways to do the same thing. I've always found this to be the easier way, that if you go and browse for the course that you'd like to enroll the user to, so I'm going to go to the View Catalogue, we'll go to the course that we created earlier on today, and down across the bottom here, we've got a series of different ones. It might be a little bit hard to see this icon, but it is a picture of a person at front and two people behind them, so that's the button that you can use to enroll the users. So by clicking on it, it will take you across to another screen, and it's showing you who is currently enrolled in that system. So because it's a course that I'd set up, I hadn't enrolled anyone. Well, I did enroll the demo one, but I've removed them to show this. So no one's in there, so now it's a matter of coming across to enroll people. So we've actually got here enroll users and also enroll cohorts. So have you come across that term cohorts before? I'll just ask that one.
Like whole business areas?
Yeah, the name cohorts, have you come across that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. Just to give you, I guess, a tiny little background about this, okay, a lot of people understand cohorts as being like a group of people, but there's groups in Moodle and there's cohorts in there. So to try to help explain this a little bit better, I guess the way I like to try to explain it is that when you're in a course, you can actually set up a group-based activity. So if you've got 20 people in a course, you could actually break it down into groups of 5 people to work on an activity. They can submit that, and if that's something that's going to be marked, then the same mark would be applied to all 5 people from within that group. Where a cohort is almost like a group of users that you can go and enroll into a course. So instead of having to go across and add in everyone individually to a course, and it could be that you might have them move from one course to the next the whole way through, then you can go set up one of these cohorts and enroll them through that particular method. So I will show the cohort idea shortly. I just want to go through some of these, the individual users. By the way, if you're interested where cohort comes from, it's actually a term for a section within a Roman army. So I think it's something slightly less than a infantry battalion or something along those lines. So anyhow, I'm going to click on Enroll User. So here are all the users coming into place. Now, I could, over a period of time, get thousands of users in there. So if I want to limit it down further, I could actually just come down to the search box now. I'll just type in Fred for this search, and there's that one person in there. But if I come back and I do a search for demo, because I've got most of these users underneath a demo account, again, it's just limiting it back down in through there. Right, so in this case, what I'm wanting to do is enroll demo 1 and demo 10 and demo 2, and of course that can take a bit of time if you've got a lot of people to go enroll. I'll come back and I'll take Fred as well and enroll them. So they haven't been enrolled as such as yet. You've just set up who you'd like to enroll, and it's only once you click on the finish enrolling users will it actually enroll them. So just be careful you don't go and close that screen because it hasn't finished enrolling them in there. Upon finishing the enrolling, you'll then see those users come back across into place to be able to go and enroll into that one particular course. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back across and I'm going to do one of these incoherent, or incognito, not I can understand myself, into one of these, and I'm just going to go back into the training account and I'm just going to log in as Fred. Right, so Fred, pop in the password. Right, so if the account wasn't set up correctly, Fred would not have been able to get in there. You can see Fred's details up the top. If I come into the viewing of the catalogue, I expand this out, then here is the course that Fred is enrolled into. The reason you are seeing these other courses is with this training account we've got these set up that everyone's got access to these areas in there. The other one that I'll just point out here, this Moodle.org, there's a little picture of a person's head over there. Anytime that you see that, that's the idea of that guest access, that it's available to anyone as long as they can get into the system to that particular spot. Right, so because Fred's enrolled, I can certainly go across and look at all the other bits and pieces in that course. If I come back out and I go to one of the other ones, Fred has not been enrolled in this course, but he can actually see the initial details. So if I choose continue, it just takes me back to that home screen. So it's literally just saying that because you're not enrolled, you won't have access to that area in there. Right, okay, so let's get away from Fred's account. Just close out there, come back across. Right, now the other part, as mentioned earlier on, is that everyone has a different role. So by default, everyone has been enrolled as a student. Now, if Fred wasn't a student, he was the teacher for that course. I want to look at, I guess, upgrading Fred to become a teacher. So in this case, what I might just do is click on the cross to unassign Fred as the student. Going to come back, click in the same position, which now gives me the option of choosing to what level I'd like to assign that person. So I'm going to choose teacher. So we just get to see which particular levels they're actually at. Right. Okay, so that's the way that you can look at changing the particular roles in there. So any questions on that part so far? No? Okay, so let's have a look at the cohorts idea. So of course that would be quite painful to go and upload 20 individual users to each course if it's the same group all the time. So to set this one up, what we're going to do is go across into the site administration area. I'm going to come down to users, accounts, and within here there is cohorts. So if I go to cohorts, now there's already one preset in this case for our demo account in here, and that's why you can always see things. But I'm just going to choose add, and that will now allow me to come across and create a name for this particular group. So I might just call it training. Now you can also choose to what level you'd like them to be available, this cohort. So when it's on the system, it means pretty much you can use it anywhere within that system, but you could also limit it down to just a particular course if needed. I'm going to leave it on system. It's probably the better recommended one in there. You can also have an ID that's associated with it. It is not a compulsory one, and you can add in a description if you want to. I'm just going to leave it as training and I'll save the changes. Right, so now we've got our new training group, but there's no one added into it. But with the demo account, we can see the cohort size. There's 10 users in there. So this is where I come across to the training, go click on the little picture of the two heads at the far end, which will now allow me to come back across to add users. So the nice part about this is that I can look at going and adding from the potential users to the current users. So I could come across and say, I think I add up to 4, let's do 5 through to 9, so you can select multiple of them using controls and shift keys. I'll add towards the left. Once they have been added, it actually does automatically save them at that stage, so I can now just go back to cohorts and we'll now see the 6 that have been added to that training cohort. Now if I jump back across to the main course, so back through the catalogue. So if I now go back to enroll users again, this time instead of going and adding each user one at a time, I can now choose this enroll cohorts. And one of the other downsides of enrolling them all one at a time, what if I want to remove all of these ones? Well, I've got to go to the cross on the right hand side, which is actually an unsubscribe, it's not a delete, so they still will exist in the system. But as you'll see, I've got to go through and confirm it for each one. So to a degree, if I've added 20 people, I'm going to have to do at least 40 clicks there. Right, let's get rid of this last one. Right, so this time I'm going to enroll by the cohorts. So by clicking on that, I can see the different ones that have come up. So this is one that I'd used last week that I mustn't have completely got rid of. So I'm going to come across and choose to enroll the cohorts in there, not enrolling of the users according to that cohorts. So if I've done that, click on finish. Right, here are all those ones being added in, but their enrolment method is based upon the cohort called training. So any ideas why that method, and I'll just bring that screen back up, would be the better one to choose, the enroll cohorts as opposed to the individual users? Right, well the advantage there is that with the cohorts, if you start to add more people into that cohort, they're going to be enrolled in that course. Where if you're choosing to just add the individual users that are associated with that cohort, then it's almost like coming back and doing that enroll users, but without having to click on each one at a time. So yeah, the enrolling cohorts is probably the better option in there. And you also do have the option of choosing to what level you'd like that cohort to be assigned. So generally with the cohorts, they would be the student type level in there. So with all those being added in, I could now go back across to any of those demo accounts, log back in, and we would see them come across to that particular level in there. Right, so any questions on that part so far?
No.
No?
Nope.
Nope, great. Okay, so let's go a little bit further. So if I come back down to my cohorts again, so I'm coming back down through the site administration area, down into users and onto accounts and back to cohorts. Then here's my training one. If I come back across and I click on the picture of the people's heads, well at this stage I can see who's enrolled and who's potential. So if I need to add another user to that cohort, I can simply come across, choose the ones that I'd like to add them over. And if I've got some that I have added that I don't intend to have in there, or they have left the course and you don't want them to be part of that cohort anymore, then you can actually just remove them. So going back through that cohorts makes it much easier to be able to manage individually in there. Right. Okay, so that's the idea of the cohorts and enrolling individual users. Now one of the other key ones in here is that you don't want to go and add users individually. So I might actually just ask at the moment, Matilda, how would you be looking at trying to enrol users into the course, or how are you receiving information about people that are going to be enrolled into the courses? Are you receiving emails, or is it a spreadsheet, or what type of method?
Yeah, we're trying to work out a system where we can have people enroll themselves and just pay online, and then also we want to have a system where we manually enroll classes. Like the school will submit an application and pay us directly, and we bulk upload them. So 2 tiers of sort of enrolling.
Yeah, definitely all of that can be set up in there. That I'm sure you've heard of PayPal, so those type of accounts can be set up. There's another one that we do use called Stripe as well, which is very, very similar to PayPal, but it's slightly better fees. So you actually get to keep more of the money with the signing up. So yeah. I'm sure the guys, if they haven't spoken to you about that, if you ask them any questions, they'll be able to talk about that, so that you can have the main web page that they can get across. Choose to do the enrolling, unless they have actually made payments, they won't actually be able to get through to the course. So if we go back to the school idea, that the school might have been enrolled and set up in there, but you want to add those students into your system. So in this case, the nice little thing is that you do actually have the ability to be able to upload multiple users. So there's a bulk upload action that can come into place. So if I go to the bulk upload, right, let's make sure I am in the right area here. Sorry, it helps if I do go to the right section, bulk user action. So this is where I could go and remove all of them. So I've just gone and clicked on the wrong link in there. Let's just go back a step. So in users, the accounts, and I've got upload users. So if I go to upload users, the nice part here is that it deals with a CSV file, and it's definitely the better file to use for this. So have you come across CSV?
Yeah.
Yep, so it's pretty much like an Excel file, but it's only a single tab. Now luckily I've already got one of these set up, so I'm just going to go and open one up so that you can see what it actually does look like. Right. So really the big difference here is it is just a single tab, and if you want to use Excel, that's perfectly fine, but when you go to save the file, you just need to make sure that when you go to save it, I'll just pop to another location here, that in the bottom drop down it's normally on the Excel workbook. You just need to come across and choose the CSV option. And honestly, it doesn't matter whether it's this CSV or this one or this one. They're all exactly the same, really, from the uploading process. Because the good thing here is that Moodle is actually very platform independent, so it doesn't matter whether it's a Word-based version or a Mac-based version, it'll still go and work. So I'll just cancel out there instead of saving that there. So as you can see, we've got a whole range of different details in place. The only part that is actually important is that you do have all the right naming conventions coming into place in here, because when it does get imported, it needs to match back up the correct names in there. So just as one that I've actually had been asked before is, well, what if you want to upload users but have them been suspended? Because at the moment this is just going to upload them all with these details and make them all pretty much, I guess, active. Well, you can also go across and create other additional columns, but you need to make sure it's the right spelling of those names. And anything that is a yes or a no type answer, the one thing that you need to make sure of, so let's...
Sorry, it's web training.
Right, so if I go and put in suspended, and I want demo account 1 to be suspended, from computer points, anything that's a 1 or a 0 is a yes or no. So 0 is no or false, and 1 is true. So if I want to suspend it, I could literally just come across and type in the ones into those particular account names in there. So to only be those ones that would get suspended, all the other ones would actually be active. So look, I won't bother making that change. I won't just go and suspend. Actually, I might leave that in there. So let's close this down. Now, if this doesn't work, then it might be suspend as opposed to suspended in there. So I'll just save that one. Just give this a different name so that I've still got my original one that I can go back to if needed. Because I'm saving the CSV format, it's just got another little prompt in there. Okay, so there is the file that I want to go and use. So because back in Moodle I've just gone across and clicked on the bulk user actions, been able to upload, all that I need to do is drag that file into place. It is a CSV file and I've got the typical comma to come into place. But what we'll also do is preview just the first 10 rows. Because if you're uploading something like 500 users, you don't want to have to go and look at every single one of them, and you can certainly choose how many you'd like to go and preview. I've never seen anyone go across and choose the 100,000 preview. So let's upload these users. Okay, I must have had that name being typed in incorrect. It must be suspend as opposed to suspend because it's not a valid field name. So what I might do is just go back. I'll bypass that one. I'll just take the original demo account there. I'll drag that in so it doesn't have that suspended one.
Okay, all right. Because I've got all these emails with ref checks in it.
So I just saw... Okay, what I might do here, I've just had a comment about background noise. I do have the ability here to go and mute everyone. So I'll just do that because of the background noise. Right, so that should have hopefully stopped all... I thought it was stopping the background noise. Okay, so I have now gone and suspended everyone. Just so that I can tell that you are able to still hear me, can I just get you to type your name into that chat area and send that? Great, thanks Matilda. So I just want to be doubly sure I hadn't accidentally muted myself in that case so that no one can actually hear me. Great, thanks Madonna. Okay, so I'll just jump back to this now. So I might just take a backward step here just because of that interruption. I'll just re-upload that file again. So we've got our CSV file. I'm just dragging it across to upload it. I just want to preview the first 10 and I'll choose the upload users. Now, as occurred before, I didn't have the right setting in place, so it won't actually upload if it can't match those field names in place. If you are going to use one of those, the other one I should just point out, this country one, is actually important. You unfortunately do have to have that in there. That comes back down to those region-based settings for time, so you will have to have one of those. The rest, a lot of those things will be optional. So here it is just previewing the details in here. Now with this preview, what we'll find is that they're all already in the system. They're all duplicated in here. Yes, I can certainly make that available to you, a copy of one of those CSVs. I can even email that to you straight after the session. Great, not a problem. Now, if we have a look at a little bit further down in the settings, this is just showing what it could possibly import, just the first 10 records if you've got more than that. But down the bottom here is what we can actually do. So in this case, if I continued, add only new users, what we'd actually find is that nothing would actually be pulled across, because as it's showing in here, that with the duplicate email addresses, they're already in the system in that case. So what I could actually do is tell it to go and update the existing users. Now, one of the advantages of this is, and this happened not that long ago to me through another system that I was using, there was actually I guess a bit of a hack that had gone on, and you might have even had some emails talking about having to change your username passwords because of some setting changes that had gone on that made a vulnerability. So if that was the case, that something along those lines did happen, you may want to force all the users to change their passwords. So they're already in the system. So what you could actually look at doing is exporting all the users, coming across and changing all their passwords to something that would be more meaningful, easy to remember. So in this case, every single person has got the exact same password, which obviously would be a security flaw. But by telling it to update the existing users and existing user details, we want it to override filling in what we have given and the defaults for all the other ones. But the existing user's password, we could leave that as no change. So if that was what we're wanting to do, we wouldn't need to, in that CSV, have the password column come into place. But in this case, what I want to do is to update everyone's passwords, and that will then go and update it with what we're supplying in the file. We can also force it to change passwords. So if it's a weak password, just all lowercase characters only, none of the upper and lowercase ideas, we could get it to force all those changes. And therefore, if our file that we're using didn't have any of those in there, it wouldn't add those users. For this one, I'm going to choose none. I just want to leave it with what we have in these files in here. Once it has been, and at the same time, you could actually allow suspending of active accounts in there. You can allow it to delete and rename, etc., based upon the other settings in here. Right. Okay, so with all of that in place, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down and click on the upload users. So what it's now doing is it's coming back across showing the results of what's actually gone on. So every one of these users has now come across with its new password and updated all the different details in there. It is showing down the bottom that 10 have actually been updated. None of them have a weak password, which is because of having the upper and lower case, the number, and the hyphen as the non-alphanumeric in there. There's been no errors in there. So I would highly recommend you go down and have a look at that information down the bottom. So if I now continue, it would have now just taken me back to upload more users at that particular point in time. So it does certainly allow you to go and upload as many users and set in whatever settings you would like. So I'm just going to do it one more time, but I'm going to make a couple little mistakes here. So I'm just going to drag across that CSV file, go to upload the users. Again, it's given me the preview. I'm going to leave it on add new users only. Now they're already in the system, so if I go to upload, down the bottom here, it has actually skipped 10 users because they are already registered within that system. So it is important to go and double check to see what is actually available at that stage. Right, now I'm just going to come back across and unmute because I would just like to find out, is there any questions along those lines? And should hopefully be able to ask a question now. So any questions?
The other thing is,
not really.
No? Okay. Right, so yeah, I can certainly quite easily give you access to this file to be able to download. Now the other one too, I'm just going to go back to the home page. Because I'm in as an admin user here, down on the left hand side I've actually got this example file. So in this case, if I click on this one, it's actually going to go and download, and hopefully you can see that downloading the file. Let me just see. Yep, so hopefully you can see that it's actually gone and downloaded a copy of that. So what I might do for the moment here, just so that I don't forget to do this, I'm going to get you to go to log on as a different user here. So the first one that I'd like you to do, go open up another tab browser, or browser tab, or another web browser, and if you can type in training.ecreators.com.au.
yeah, like there isn't too much that you could do.
Right. So I'll just pop that into the chat area so that you can see it. Right, you can even click on that link if needed. Now, once you're in there, I'm going to get you to log in underneath a different demo account, because what I'll do is I'll temporarily change that user so that you got access to that particular file. So, Matilda, I'm going to get you to log in as Demo1 with the password of learning, capital L, -1. And Madonna, if you're doing this as well, I'll get you to do Demo2.
Yeah, that's right.
And again, it will be the same password in there. Learning with a capital L, -1. So I'm just going to mute everyone again because there's still that background noise coming through. Right, now, as soon as you get in there, you're not going to be able to see the information on the left-hand side. So if you want to watch this, feel free to swap back across to my screen. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down into the site administrator. I'm going to go to the users, accounts, and I'm just going to browse a list of users, seeing as there's only 2 of them. So what I'm going to do is come to the Demo1, and I'm going to come across to the little gear cog to edit Demo1. Right, so if I scroll down, have I gone too far down? Shall I tell you what I might do, just to make some things a little bit quicker here. I'm going to go to Site Administration, Users, Accounts, and I'm going to do a bulk user action. I'm just doing this to show you something a little bit different here. Bulk user action. So I've got none selected. So what I'm going to do is add Demo1 and Demo2. So I'm going to add those 2. So here they are on the right hand side. And what do I want to do in this case? I'm going to Might be yes. That is not what I was expecting here. It's just so many options. Okay, let me just come back across to the browse the list of users. Demo 1. Let's come on. Hey, sorry, I'm just getting sidetracked here. Sorry, here it is, roles. So because I've got into the user, I need to come back across to the left, roles, the user's role assignment. So I can see that you're logged in here as just the students in this case. So let's come up to system. Go to the permissions and actually, just for the sake of losing time here, because I'm just trying to give you access to this one file, what I might actually do just to make this a little bit quicker, I guess what I'm trying to avoid doing is adding you up to the system-based level and then forgetting to do it for other upcoming courses. I'm just going to come back across to the course that you do have available to you, which is the training course 1 May. And in through here, just turn on the editing. In topic 1, I'm going to come across and add another resource, which I'm just going to make a file. CSV, and now all that I need to do is drag that file across in to go and upload it in there. So I'll save and return to the course. So what we'll now find is that we've got that file in there. Upon clicking on it, it then goes to download it. So what I will get you to do is to go across into that course. So if you can scroll down from that, or go back to the home page, scroll down to the bottom, the view catalogue. Once you're in the viewing of the catalogue, go across into the training course 1 May, and then you'll be able to click on the cohorts in there to be able to download that. So I'm just going to come back and unmute everyone, so that if you do have any questions or I've lost you on any of those steps, feel free to ask away or type into the chat area. So once you've been able to download that file, just let us know and then we'll get back into the other part. Right, has everyone got access to that file? So Matilda, I might just ask you, seeing as I think you're the only one on the audio.
Yep, all good.
Yep, okay, great. Okay, so I thought it might be easier to do it that way than trying to throw this system out by upgrading a user right up to the system administration type level in there. Right, okay, so that is the idea of being able to upload bulk users into the system. Right. I feel like I have forgotten to go through something here because it feels like I've gone through this quicker than what I possibly should have. Right. So I guess just the last little spot in here, and we will probably have this session finished a little bit earlier. So underneath the site administration again, it's probably the main area that you need to go to when you're dealing with all these different users. So if I go back down to users and accounts, again I can just browse for a list of them. I can do bulk actions on them, so that's suspending and so on. Adding the individuals. I can even, if needed, upload upload pictures. Now, just in case you need to do this, adding in the photo of the person, the way that this one works is that the username needs to match the name of the file for that person. So it's just something to be aware of there, because once it's uploaded, it'll then bring across all those details across. And of course, we actually have our cohorts that can come into play as well. Now, if you have added a cohort and you then no longer need it, you can actually go and remove it by the little cross in there. So if I click on the cross, there it is, going to delete their training cohort. Anytime that you go to delete something, you'll always get another screen prompting to confirm it. So I'll continue. So there is my cohort being removed. Now, if I come back to the course, the catalogue, back to the courses, and I go to the enrolled users, there's no one inside of that group anymore, but I did have people being shown. And that is because I enrolled them as a cohort. So if I remove them, that cohort, deleting it, it will actually go and remove them from any courses that they are currently assigned to. Right, so that was really the last little part that I needed to go through from the admin side. And we always, I guess, allow up to about half an hour of questions with the admin side, because everyone's usually got a few different things that they're wanting to try to cover there. So I'll just bring the sound back on. So is there any questions in there? Right.
Would you be able to show some of the sort of having the different roles? How can we just have a look at, say you had a teacher and a student and a few different things, just what that all looks like? Or is that really not admin? I'm not sure. Because just wanting to know, like with hiding certain documents and stuff like that from...
Yep. Yeah, now that will definitely be on a site-by-site basis in there. I'll still show you some of these things, but with the demo site versus what you might have in your site, it could be set up quite different in through there. But just to show you just a couple of those little spots, if I come down to permissions, now actually I'll just go back through to the admin area. And if I come down to, what would be a good one for this here, let's go to users and permissions. Right, now I can actually go to the defining of the roles. So if I go to defining of the roles, in through here, this is what I was showing you in that little screen earlier on, that you can actually have your different people set up to different levels, so your managers, course creators, etc. Now, if I decide to come across to, let's have a look at the non-editing teacher as an example. So if I click on my little gear cog to go and edit it, it will come back across with a lot of options being available as to what they actually have access to. So I could have upgraded someone before. This is that site one that I was trying to avoid going and doing, that I could go back across and find, update you to become a non-editing teacher, come across into the non-editing teacher and say that you also have access to the entire system. So if it's the system, it would be that manager, the complete admin level. But being the non-editing teacher, then what they actually get access to are all these areas in through here, as far as the role assignments in there that scroll down a little bit further, you've also got all these permissions that you could actually come across and put ticks into to choose to do the allowing of those different areas. Now, most of that is something that eCreators would take care of based upon what your requirements might need to be, and there'll probably be just some information given to you in regards to what level they actually have access to. So a lot of places there'll be, I guess, almost like a 3-level. There might be the administrator, and we'll always have an account set up for us to come back through to do any updates that might be required or major changes. Then you'll have more or less like your manager level, which would be pretty much your admin, what you'd be getting access to, and the student. But then others will have different levels that is actually needed. But yeah, if you have a look at my scroll bar, I haven't even gone halfway down through all these areas that you can actually turn on and off, and that is just for that one non-editing teacher. So hopefully that makes a tiny bit of sense in there.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, so that's the managing the role, and you can do all these different overloading ideas. So I guess what we try to do is we try to take care of all that hard stuff so that you just get to look at managing the different areas that you've got. What I'd always recommend is when you first get into it, you'll have that admin account. Set up another user as a student, set up another one as a non-editing teacher, and open those up and just see for yourself what the difference is. I think there's a big difference between me saying what the difference is and you actually getting in there and seeing it for yourself to be able to confirm for yourself what the differences are.
Yeah.
Yep. Right. So yeah, again, those ones there, you have to go back through the site administration area, users, permissions, and then the defining of the roles to get to that area. Right. So any other questions in through there?
Brendan, can you just confirm, so when we do like a bulk upload at the beginning, so putting all of our staff onto the system to allow them to access it, can we then, when you set up a particular course and maybe enroll people, you can then change their permissions at the course level?
Yes, you can. Yep. I'll just go back through that area. So I'll just jump down into one of the courses. Because I've got rid of the cohorts, I'm just going to enroll them as users for this.
Yep.
Right. Now, it doesn't matter whether you enroll them as a cohort or not, but if I come back to enroll the users and enroll users, just going to go and choose a few different ones in here. Right. Now, because I have up the top here that they're all students, that's what you generally want to do. You want to enroll them all as students to begin with. So now finishing, here they all are being enrolled in there. Now, in this case, I enrolled the LMS manager. Here it is showing that they are a student and also a manager. Right, now I'm going to get rid of that one. Yep, but if I wanted to change it so that one of the students is now going to be the teacher for the week, so I'll do it on the demo 6. You can come across, click on the student to remove them, then blank. Clicking in that position will then allow you to choose to what levels you have available in there. So I'll just choose teacher, and there they are back across as a teacher. Yeah. So that's a way that you can look at changing them across to those different levels. The other one that I'm going to say that this is probably something that we would be taking care of for you, but I just want to make sure that you're aware of this. Let me just jump back down into the site administration area again, and courses. I'm hoping I've got the course default settings. No. It's one that I haven't done for a long time, this one. Category. No, not the category. Oh, by the way, I should mention this one too, things I have actually just got to here. Courses and adding a category. I'm just going to create one here. I'll just call it test with a few S's on the end so that you know that's what I'm creating. Just going to choose a colour from within this colour category area, and I'm just going to go and create that. Now, what that has actually done, so if I come back to the top level for a moment, I'll just leave that screen there, I'll just open up another window for it. When I come down into my courses, this this is how you can create another one of those top level ones coming into play. So everything that we've been dealing with has been underneath the training courses. And because I chose that green, that is the colour of the bar that helps separate between the different areas in there. And then I could look at come and create another course to sit in underneath this one. Right. Okay, so that's how you can get to create additional top level ones, which they call categories in there. Seems I'll go and create this and I don't really need this. I'm just going to click on the arrow and choose to go and delete that one in there. Alright, so let's go delete that. Now, just trying to remember where this particular setting is. What I'm trying to find here is, it might be appearance. Not. There's only so much I can blame on a Friday afternoon. Don't think I can blame this on one of those. Default settings. Okay. Actually, I know another way that I can show it. There is a default setting to come into place. I'll just show it in a different way. But if I go to create a new course, if I come down the bottom here, so sorry, I've probably done that very quick for you. I've clicked on the create new course. I'm not going to bother filling in the information for the name of that course. But if I come down to this role renaming, if I expand that out, then here's where I can say that student isn't known as student. It is known as participant or end user. Teacher is known as professor, instructor, any of those type things. So these are just the wording that Moodle wants to use. But you can always put it across as whatever name you'd like in there. But there is also a across the system update. But again, that's something that eCreators would definitely be taking care of for you before you go live day in there. Right. So, any other questions?
No, I think I'm good. Thanks, Brennan.
Great.
No, thanks.
Okay, so look, Madonna, I know that you haven't got any audio to speak back, but if you've got any questions, feel free to type it into that chat area. But I guess in the meantime, that's pretty much all that we needed to have a look at today from the admin session. The idea being able to go and create users individually, do the bulk upload, and how you can enroll them into a course and unenroll and suspend, so which is through that little idea. So I guess if there is no other questions, I will look at ending this session then. But again, do remember that with all the sites that we set up for you with Moodle, we are actually providing you support after that as well. So there is that 1300 number and also the email address, support@ecreators.com.au. So again, depending upon what type of packaging you've actually got will dictate how many hours worth of support in there. But you know, most questions are only a 5-minute answer in there, so there's plenty to be able to go and ask us on those areas. Right. Great. So I guess without any other questions, then I will look at ending the session. Thank you for your time, and good luck with Moodle.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks very much. Okay. Enjoy your afternoon.